While attending a dinner party with friends who had recently relocated to Vancouver, I noticed an odd constriction in my chest. I was first concerned that it might be a sudden illness, but as the pressure increased, I became more concerned. It got to the point where I excused myself to use their restroom, stood in front of the mirror, and told myself, "Heather, you're going to die if you don't admit you need help or get help." That notion was so serious that it overcame me, and I felt a wave of terrible foreboding. I said to everyone as soon as I came out of the restroom, "I need an ambulance." Suddenly, the music stopped, and my pals gave me a confused look. They questioned, "What?" "I need an ambulance," I said once more. "Right now. At this moment." After being hurriedly loaded into the ambulance, I was speeding down a pitch-black highway with no idea where we were headed. The sense of approaching disaster only intensified until I gave in to the paralyzing anxiety. Abruptly, a shadow of darkness descended upon me, gradually swallowing everything until there was just a tiny sliver of light left. That tiny dot of light disappeared, leaving me in complete darkness. Call it the emptiness or the abyss. I don't know how to describe it, but in spite of everything being completely dark, it felt quite soothing. There was only an enormous, infinite void with no visible top, bottom, or sides. It felt like being in complete stillness and tranquility, floating alone in a lake. There was only the sensation of floating, complete support, and profound comfort. There was no sound. There was no longer any fear, only a serene curiosity. The utter blackness captivated me, and I made an unsuccessful attempt to see my hand in front of my face. There was a tiny flash of light in the distance. In that boundless nothingness, it was the only thing visible. I watched in wonder as the light seemed to be getting closer to me. While I remained motionless, I observed that the light was forming a tunnel and fluctuating between different tones of gray and bursts of more intense illumination. It was getting closer, and I realized I was going up, even though I was moving involuntarily. I started to feel anxious all over again as soon as I got into the tunnel. The voyage had only just begun. I had no idea what was going on or where I was going. If I could just touch the sides, maybe I could stop myself from rising, I thought as I stretched out my arms and legs. You see, I wanted to be in charge of the circumstance. However, it was pointless and impossible, like attempting to grasp at the air. The feeling deepened, sending a jolt of terror through me. I had no control and no understanding of what was happening. The uncertainty took hold of me. As I rose, feeling as though I was going up and over, I caught a glimpse of an incredibly bright light at the end of the tunnel. It was a blinding white-blue light that seemed to pulse with intricacy and depth. It was intensely brilliant. It suddenly surrounded me. There I stood, still completely dazed, trying to process the enormity of it all. When I thought back to my early years, I remembered asking my dad, "What happens when we die, Dad?" His answer had been direct: "Nothing. That's it. We are born, we die. That's all. You're in the ground." I took his statements at face value when I was younger, so this was a completely foreign experience to me. The brightness was dazzling, yet it was also layered with hues and silvers, rich with a depth that was beyond words. Emerging from this brilliant light were figures that resembled floodlights from a large stadium, except that these lights were piled together at ground level to create the appearance of figures. What in the world is happening was all I could think of. There were perhaps 100 or more people in the gathering. My first response was one of rudeness and amazement. I started shoving them away and telling them to get the F away from me. Subsequently, I recognized recognizable faces: Uncle Dick, Aunt Alice, my great-grandfather, and Nanny. I realized that these were deceased persons that I had known. It was a startling realization. I muttered to myself, "I don't know what's going on," as I was overcome with confusion. Where am I? I knew I was being nasty, but my great-grandmother came over and said, "Heather, you have died," in a kind way that still makes me cry. Her remarks really got to me. It wasn't clear to me until she said it. That's when I realized that the light was something far more than light. It was an unfathomably deep, unconditional love, acceptance, and kindness. I had collapsed to my knees, asking myself, "Where am I?" as I struggled to fathom there being a floor in this location. It was a confusing feeling, yet it was also infused with a soft, all-encompassing acceptance. Though everything around it was white, there was a floor, and I had dropped to my knees, crying furiously. I wish I wasn't here. I want to live, not die. I was robbed of even life, I sobbed. I was left with nothing to do. My life felt so unfairly brief. I thought I had lost out on a great deal. Subsequently, I felt a tremendous vibration and a burning frequency that I could only characterize as a new, higher energy. It was comforting to know that even though I had passed away, everything would be all right. We started a life review almost right away. I had not expected the quick, intense experience that was the life review. It felt more like being fully immersed in my own life than it did like watching a movie or film. There were no spoken words, no faces. All communication was done via telepathy. My grandmother talked directly into my mind even when she did so. The examination went far beyond the five senses and explored the very core of who I am. Knowing how we influence each other was one of the most significant insights. I discovered that other people are able to perceive our thoughts. When you think negatively about someone, they absorb it subconsciously and use it to shape who they are. On the other hand, a modest deed of kindness can have a big effect on someone's life. I was astounded to learn that I had a profound impact on people that I was unaware of. The life review was not just about looking back at my faults. It was also an opportunity to celebrate the amazing relationships I had formed, the ones with people and animals, the conversations I had with the outside world. It seemed as though I was experiencing other people's feelings precisely as they had. It was a remarkable insight into the interconnectedness of our energies. I was also shown the workings of karma, including commitments made in previous lives. I was shown in graphic detail that I had killed someone in a previous life. Through other powerful experiences, I saw that we had agreed to switch roles in this lifetime, but not to the point of death. They would inflict agony on me, and I would take it in return. This insight gave me insight into the reasons behind some of the seemingly random things that had happened in my life. It helped me comprehend the cyclical nature of karma and the connection between all of our souls on a deeper level. I was thrown into a lightning-fast maelstrom of information on energy and the human body. The details of the energetic functioning of the human body seemed to materialize before me at that same moment. I gained knowledge of what enters our bodies, what leaves them, and how energy moves through them. I learned about energy points, the aura field, and the effects of unresolved emotions on physical health. The brain, which is so strong, has the ability to either limit or enrich our experiences. Whether it is a high or low frequency, our external environment affects what we draw and let into our lives. Organizing one's energies became similar to filing cabinets. Feelings and experiences were stored in various regions of the body for subsequent processing. After that, I was brought to the breathtakingly beautiful Crystal City. I was only there for a short while, yet it felt like I was 15 to 20 miles away from something amazing. Someone arrived to greet me. I never saw their face, but their warmth and affection were conveyed to me through a large, bear hug. I was led gently out of there since it was not my time to stay. I then went to a realm where spirits who had finished their terrestrial lives may receive healing. This was a location intended for people with exceptionally severe life experiences. Restorative water pools glistened in the marble surrounds, providing solace and renewal. The walls, flooring, and columns were all brilliant white marble, resulting in a space of quiet, uncluttered beauty. Souls may stay there for what seemed like a very long period, but there was no true concept of time in that sense. I also came into what I named the Hall of Records, or Akashic Records, as others could call it. Beyond my wildest dreams, towering bookcases extended, and I was shown my own book. It was very thick, suggesting many lifetimes. There was a tiny screen within, a tiny TV-like screen showing scenes from my life right now. I found this detail to be both intriguing and weird. Subsequently, when Harry Potter became popular, the idea of a personal book with moving pictures sounded strangely familiar, and I wondered if J.K. Rowling had somehow drawn on experiences similar to mine. It was demonstrated to me that not every soul resonates at the same frequency at the soul level. The knowledge levels of souls vibrating at levels 5 or 6, for example, would differ from those vibrating at level 3. The way that spirits with similar vibrations tend to draw each other in is amazing. Souls frequently find themselves among individuals that share their vibrational frequency, as there are many planes of life. The idea of mentors, guides who assist souls in navigating their life contracts and agreements, was also presented to me. I had to decide at one point whether or not to come back to Earth. I struggled to believe that I had passed away without accomplishing my goals or living up to my purpose, as I was overcome with sadness. I so badly wanted to go back and finish what my life contract said. I was told that returning would be much harder than it had been. I was going to bear incredible physical, emotional, mental, and psychic hardships. I was informed that I would have to put up with some physical restrictions and discomforts. I was asked if I wanted to come back despite this. The notion of our interconnectedness really got to me. We are all related, and if we could only see and accept this, we would be able to move past our differences and disagreements. We are all connected to one another energetically. I see a world in which we can acknowledge and accept this connection, letting go of the boundaries and ideas that separate us. Our interactions and the environment around us may be completely changed if we could just grasp that understanding.